Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Corrections Officer Grant Program Overview for Community Colleges. I've started the recording, and I think we'll go ahead and get started so we can get finished by 5 o'clock today. My name is Erica Oriens, and I'm the Vice President and Executive Director of the Center for Student Success at the Michigan Community College Association. I am joined today by two of my colleagues, Kathy Taskey, who is the Director of Finance at MCCA, and Abby Davis, who is serving as an Education Policy Fellow for this academic year at the MCCA. So the three of us will be walking you through an overview of this program today. I also want to recognize a couple of our colleagues who are here from the Michigan Department of Corrections, or who plan to be here from the Michigan Department of Corrections anyway. And I see Heather Matthews and Lachelle Fuller are here. They work in the recruitment office at MDOC, and they have been exceptionally helpful in helping us to design and get ready for this program now as well. So thanks so much to Heather and Michelle for all of their support through this process. We have a pretty packed agenda today. And so what we want to do is go over with you the program overview. We want to talk with you about the eligibility for community colleges and for corrections officers. We want to give you a preview of what our website and what the application will look like for corrections officers. We'll talk a little bit about invoicing and billing and how we're going to manage the finances for this program. We'll talk about some of the frequently asked questions that we gathered from our colleges earlier this year, and then a few of the next steps that we'll be asking you to do really quickly to be able to get this program launched for our students. So let's talk about the program overview. And before I get into that, I will say, I know that some of you are the only person here from your institution, and you may be from billing, or you might be from a corrections program. Either way, this is being recorded, and we'll post it hopefully this week on the MCCA website so that you can share it with other people on your campus. We also have posted the slides on the MCCA website at mcca.org under events, which is where you registered for this session as well. And so if you want to go there, you'll be able to see the slides and share those with folks on your campus as well. And that's also where we'll put the recording. Okay, into the program overview. Okay. So Public Act 144 was the big omnibus budget bill for the state of Michigan for 2022-2023. And that budget appropriated $5 million to the Corrections Officer Grant Program to be administered by the Michigan Community College Association. It was a $5 million grant that provided financial support to corrections officers who are employed by the MDOC and are required to meet the 15 credit hour education requirement. And so that's what was included in the budget. It also outlined a bit of, and then through some of our program policies, outlined who's eligible for the program. So in terms of program eligibility, as it relates to corrections officers who are employed by the MDOC, who are required to complete the 15-hour credit hour education requirement, are eligible for the grant program. So if someone already has an associate degree, or they've already completed 15 credit hours, at this time they're not eligible for the program. We're really focused on the corrections officers who need to complete this 15 credit hour requirement. The application that we have designed will verify employment and eligibility each semester to ensure that the COs continue to be eligible for the program. Program eligibility for community colleges. The 31 community colleges that are members of the Michigan Community College Association are eligible to enroll students in the grant program. Of course, we know that students could attend public universities or private institutions or out-of-state providers, but they're not eligible for reimbursement through the grant program. So this is just for the 31 community colleges that are members of the MCCA. The program length, in short, really, the program continues until the $5 million is spent, in short. But we are currently planning to run this program through summer of 2023, unless funds are spent prior to this or the program receives more funding. So we expect that $5 million will cover a substantial number of corrections officers and a lot of credit hours. But we only have enough money to be able to for what the budget allocated to us in the program. So this is our kind of best guess at what our program, how long the program is going to last. So that's just a high level overview of the program. So MCCA, when the governor signed the budget in July of this year, we got working very quickly with the Michigan Department of Corrections to start working on an application process and really understanding what this requirement is at the MDOC. In late November, early December, we got approval from the state of Michigan. They provided us with the funding to be able to actually get started. So that's really what we've been focusing on over the last couple of months, is really getting this program up and running. I will admit that this is the first, I've had a relatively long career in higher education, but this is the first financial aid type of program that I've run. So I really appreciate your patience as we work through this process. And I have reached out to so many of you with questions about the program and how this process should work. And I really appreciate all those folks who gave me that feedback as well. So what I'd like to do now is jump into what this application process is going to look like. And we've put together a diagram that outlines what the process looks like each semester. And we've identified who's responsible for each one of those steps. So if we start, I have started in the top left corner, and then it kind of snakes around here through these 9 steps. So we go, these 2 green steps at the bottom, you can see the light blue line, those are connected there together. The boxes in blue are responsibilities of the student. The boxes in orange are responsibilities of the MDOC. The boxes in green are responsibilities of the MCCA. And the boxes in yellow are responsibilities of the community college. So every semester begins by submitting an application. The MDOC will verify employment and eligibility for the program every semester. The MCCA will approve every semester. The MCCA will send a third-party authorization to the colleges and a hold request so that you don't drop their classes for non-payment. Then the college will enroll the student and hold them, put a hold on their account so they're not dropped for non-payment. The college will invoice the MCCA, and concurrent to that, the student will submit a billing statement to us. MCCA will pay the invoice to the college, and then at the end of the semester, the student will submit their unofficial transcript. So this is a high-level big picture of what the process will look like each year. But for the rest of these slides, I want to go through each one of those items in a little bit more detail. So the first step is that the student submits the applications. The corrections officers will apply for the grant program, and they'll submit some basic information that we need to know to be able to process the grant. First, they will submit their contact information, name, email address, that kind of stuff. They'll provide us with information about which MDOC facility they're employed with and some of their employment information from the MDOC. They'll let us know where they expect to enroll, at which community college they expect to enroll. And then, as I mentioned before, they'll do that employment and eligibility verification. We'll ask them to fill out or work with their facility human resources office to fill out a form, or we have a built-in reference process into the application as well. Each semester that they plan to enroll, they'll repeat this process. The MDOC in step 2 will verify employment and eligibility for the program by completing the employment and eligibility form or a reference form. We secured or procured a application system called Submittable that allows students to upload documents in a secure system, or we can use a reference. A lot of times, like undergraduate or graduate programs that require a reference to an education program, the way they do it nowadays is you get this kind of automatically generated email. The student tells the system what the email address is, and then you write up the reference and it gets automatically submitted through that. So we have 2 options right now. We're going to kind of see how that works out and what will be easiest for students to complete. And maybe we won't need one of those options as we make adjustments to the program moving forward. The MCCA will receive the employment and eligibility verification and work, make sure that everything is complete and correct. And then we'll communicate with the student that they have been approved for the program. In that approval, we will, and actually even immediately when we receive their application, we are encouraging them to start working right away with their local community college to apply and get enrolled. So that message is going out very quickly, but when they're approved, we're kind of officially approving them to be able to enroll in classes. At that point, the MCCA will send the Corrections Officer Grant Program billing contact a list of students who have been approved for the program. The list is confirmation that the MCCA will serve as the third-party authorized payor for that student, that the college should not drop the student for non-payment, and will also provide to you instructions for invoicing the MCCA. We're kind of planning on sending these reports weekly. We really don't know exactly what the volume will be of the number of people that will go through this program, but we'll certainly be communicating with colleges weekly as we get those in. There's a link here on this slide that's asking you to provide contact information for the Corrections Officer Grant Program billing contact. So this is the person that Kathy will communicate with when it comes to sending this information to your institution as well. Abby put that link in the chat, but remember that these are also available on the slides on the MCCA website as well. Kathy, I'm going to pause there for a minute and see if you have any other comments that you want to make about this step in the process.
Not at this time. Again, like Erica said, we really don't know what the volume is, other than each college will get a report from me also on who exactly is enrolled in this program, probably a little spreadsheet attached to a letter telling you what we're doing, why I'm talking to you, why you're getting this information, along with, as she said, instructions for what I will need in order to get that check to you as soon as possible. You're muted, Erica.
Thank you. I think I have the wrong color up here. I was so proud of my coloring. Kathy, do you want to talk about, oh no, this is right. Community colleges invoice the MCCA. Kathy, do you want to talk through this process?
When we were talking to some of the community colleges, a lot, what we got that was pretty, everybody was saying that third-party authorization form is essential. So you know that we're actually making a commitment to paying the tuition for those students. As I said in the previous slide, everything will be encompassed in that third-party authorization form, as well as once you have that, if I'm going to be sending you a spreadsheet and a cover letter to say, these are the students that we currently have enrolled. Can you check your records to verify this information? And then I, in turn, will need an invoice from the college stating, yes, we have those students enrolled, and here is our invoice and please forward a check, and kind of where you need the check sent to, because many of you have so many campuses or several campuses that I want to make sure that it's going to the right people.
Great, thanks, Kathy. And then a little bit concurrent with that process, as we were designing the process of working with the students, you know, they apply, and then we don't have a lot of reason to be in touch with them until the end of the semester, really, or frankly, we kind of could have put a lot of the onus of that on the colleges, but we really wanted to be able to communicate with students here. So about 3 to 4 weeks after the start of the semester, the MCCA will ask students to upload their billing statement. Although we will work directly with the community colleges for invoicing and payment, as Kathy described a little bit earlier, this is a good check and balance for us to be able to get the billing statement from the community college, and we'll be able to match that up with the invoice that we get from or the billing statement that we get from the student will be able to match up with the invoice that we get from the community college. So this step here isn't intended in any way to replace that relationship with the community college, but it's a good opportunity for us to connect with students, and it's a good check and balance as we're, you know, with our fiscal responsibility to make sure that the invoice matches the billing statement as well.
And I think it's important to say that most of these students are going to be enrolled through, you know, at least 2 years. They have 24 months to complete the 15 credits. This will get them kind of in a uniform way to handle this application every year, so they'll get used to those steps.
MCCA will issue payment to community colleges. Payment documentation will include information about the students, so you'll know who we're paying for and you can apply that to their account. And again, we'll work with those billing contacts to make sure that we provide all of the necessary information that you need, which is why we'd love to have that billing contact information as soon as possible, so that we can get that process started and make sure that we're providing you with the information that you need to make it as easy as possible to apply that to the student account. And then the last step in the process is that student submits their unofficial transcript. So we'll ask the student to submit their transcript at the end of the semester. It can just be an unofficial transcript. When we communicate with students, we use the term unofficial transcript. We also kind of ask them, like, you know, if it's just a statement of your grades for the semester, but we need to see if the student has completed the class, essentially. And that will help us for approving grant applications in future semesters as well. Okay, I see that Michelle asked a question in the chat of what grade is required in order to receive credit for MDOC purposes. So that is a terrific transition over into the FAQ section of our website. So what I'd like to do is go out to, I'm gonna go right to the FAQs, but I'm gonna kind of walk my way through to show you how I get there. So if you go to mcca.org, on the very homepage, you should see a link that says Corrections Officer Grant Program Application. So that's prominently displayed in the middle of our website. If you click there, you'll get to the Michigan Corrections Officer Grant Program. This page is really designed for students. This is where we outline their eligibility requirements and what they really need to get ready and get going together for their application before they go in and apply now. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I'm going to go down here to this button that says Information for Community College Administrators. And if I click into there, these are our frequently asked questions for all of you. So I'd like to go through some of these. Probably in the fall, we reached out to colleges to ask them to give us what questions they have about this program, and which obviously helped us design the program, and then also helped us to be able to put this guidance out there for all of you. Okay, so let's start from the beginning here and talk about some of these FAQs that we've gotten just to be able to clarify the program for you. We touched on this a little bit, but corrections officers who are employed by MDOC who need to earn the 15 credit hours are likely eligible for the program. For those of you who may not be as familiar with this requirement of the MDOC, the typical requirement is that the student must meet the education requirement, or excuse me, the applicant must meet the education requirement before they're employed as a CO. That has been temporarily waived, and students, COs, excuse me, now have 24 months to be able to complete that requirement, or they'll be separated from the department. The COs are notified by the MDOC recruitment office if they need to meet the requirement, and corrections officers work closely with the recruitment office and their facility human resources office to complete all of the necessary requirements. Some folks have asked about other public safety officers. Right now, the program is only open to MDOC corrections officers. So if you're at a local jail or another facility, those folks may be eligible for another program, but they're not eligible for this program. Only MDOC employees are eligible. In our conversations with the MDOC and with many of you are wondering how many students we expect to serve through this program. MDOC estimates that there are approximately 450 currently employed officers that need to complete the education requirement. And the MDOC has a goal of hiring 800 new corrections officers per year, of which they expect that a majority of those officers will likely need to meet the education requirement. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, state statute does require that applicants to MDOC have 15 credit hours before being hired. However, this policy has been waived and employees now have 24 months from employment to meet the education requirement. So there can be some confusion out there about what the requirement is. And so, just kind of keep that in mind as you're talking with people on campus about this. In terms of eligibility, I think one of the things that MDOC really reinforced to us is that community colleges should ensure that COs are communicating with their facility human resources officers and the MDOC recruitment office to determine what they need to do to complete the education requirement. The MDOC provides the CO with a memo at the beginning of their employment to notify them of this requirement, that they do need to complete that. And the COs work closely with the facility human resources to make sure that they're meeting that requirement. So as you folks at colleges are working with students, it's important to remember that they should certainly be communicating with their facility human resources office as well. Moving on to MDOC credit policies. In terms of required courses, corrections officers must complete 15 credit hours at the 100 level or higher, but there are no specific course requirements for this program. So MCCA will approve course, the student should plan to work directly with the MDOC to make sure that they're taking the right courses. As I mentioned before, we will work in partnership with the MDOC to approve the student for participation in the program. And so colleges really don't need to worry about going through the student's academic record to make sure that they're eligible for the program. We'll do that at the MCCA to make sure that they maintain their eligibility in the program. We will also work with the MDOC to monitor credit, to track credit hours completed. The MDOC will do that. They'll track the credit hours completed to determine if the student is still eligible for the program and has not met the employment requirements. And the MCCA will monitor that to make sure that we're only paying for up to 15 credit hours for a student who is eligible for the program. Finally, in terms of credit, I know that many colleges award credit for students who have completed the Corrections Academy, which is perfectly fine to do and actually really encouraged. But in the statute, the student must complete 15 college credits in addition to the academy. So that credit for prior learning for the academy doesn't apply to the 15 credit hours. Although if a student has other forms of credit for prior learning, you should apply that as you would any other student that comes to your institution. Moving down to eligible expenses, the grant will cover tuition and all fees, course fees, program fees, lab fees, mandatory fees at the 31 community colleges in Michigan. We will also cover out-of-district tuition. So there's no distinction. We'll cover in-district or out-of-district tuition. But unfortunately, we will not cover books and supplies in this program. So students will have to cover that themselves. In their approval letter, we explain this to them, that we'll cover the tuition and fees and that they'll have to cover the books and supplies. The other kind of tricky part of this program, obviously, is that MCCA is managing this program, which is separate from other financial aid programs that are managed by the Department of Treasury at the state of Michigan. And so it presents some challenges if you have students who are maybe taking 6 or more credit hours and are applying for financial aid. And so the policy that we've created is that the Corrections Officer Grant Program is a first dollar program, which means that we will cover tuition and fees before any other aid kicks in. So if students need other aid, that would be okay, but we're really treating this as a third party employment authorization. We expect that most of these students are only going to take one class a semester. And that one class is probably going to be online based on their new employees and based on the fact that there's a lot of shift changes in these roles at the correctional facilities as well. So we are expecting that because students wouldn't necessarily be taking enough credit hours to be eligible for other aid, that we won't run into many problems with that. With that said, you have our contact information, and we have a dedicated email address for this program at the MCCA that you'll be able to ask questions about that as well. Moving on, Kathy, I think, talked in detail about the payment and invoicing, but we have that included on this part of the website as well. And then I know that we had a couple of questions come through about course completion and grades. So grade reporting, let's focus on that first. Corrections officers will submit unofficial transcripts to the MCCA, and they'll work directly with their facility human resources office to submit official transcripts when they're required to do so to the MDOC. But colleges will not be asked to submit grading information to us. We'll get that information directly from students. Let's talk about refunds and all of the circumstances that will come up when students withdraw or fail their classes. So MCCA will not seek a refund for students who withdraw or fail their classes. However, corrections officers have a lifetime maximum of 15 credit hours to be paid by the Corrections Officer Grant Program. Withdrawal or failed courses will count against that total. So, for example, if a student enrolled in classes, was in the class for 10 weeks, and then withdrew from the class, we won't seek refunds or reimbursement from the college or the student for that withdrawn class. However, we're only paying for 15 credit hours. We're only paying for up to 15 credit hours. And that, 3 credit hour class would count against that total lifetime maximum of 15 credits. The other question that we've gotten is about terminated employment, and we're treating terminated employment similarly to how we're treating if a student withdraws or fails a class. We will not seek reimbursement from terminated employees if they are no longer employed by the MDOC in the 10th week of the semester. We won't seek reimbursement for that. But of course, the CO would lose eligibility for the program. And that could only be reinstated if they were reinstated as an employee at the Michigan Department of Corrections, and then go through the employment and eligibility verification process. So that is our policy around course completion and grades. I know we had some questions come in the chat. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. So Michelle, do students need to repay the grant if they don't earn a 2.0? No, they do not. They don't need to repay at all. We're treating this as we're covering those 15 credit hours. And so Michelle, if you think it would be helpful for me to clarify that somewhere on the website, it's totally up to them if they want to repeat the class or not. If they do or do not, if they don't earn the 2.0, they could certainly repeat the class, but we will only pay for up to 15 credit hours for that.
Erica, can I jump in real quick?
Yes, please.
So anybody who gets under a 2.0 for any class, we still count it as receiving, as long as they receive the credit hours for it. So we're not necessarily looking at the grade. I think the grade came into play for the corrections officer certificate, but when we're looking at transcripts for our corrections officers, as long as they got the 3 credits, regardless of the grade, then it counts towards their 15 requirement.
Oh, I see. So, okay.
I think that was the question, maybe.
I see. Okay, I didn't scroll up far enough. I'm sorry. I see. So they do not need a 2.0 in the class. They don't need a C or better.
No.
Okay.
John Cordell, are you on here? Is there any language that says that they need a 3.0 or above? I know it was for the
no, there is no language that I'm aware of in the training council or the law that requires it.
And then Jenny asked if a developmental education course that is numbered 100 or higher, does the MDOC distinguish between college level and developmental education if they're at the 100 level or higher? As long as they're at the 100 level, is it okay?
I believe so. I guess I wouldn't know. I would need an example of what and how we would identify it as a developmental class, because I assumed that anything under 100 was developmental, but I'm not sure. I'd have to have an example.
I'm thinking of, if I could just clarify a little bit, that, like, for example, colleges are going to be transitioning most of their developmental education to co-resident education. So they may be taking a developmental English course that's paired with a gateway college English course, so but I know that some colleges number those developmental courses, English 100 and English 1, and then it's paired with English 120, or it's, math 105 and it's paired with math 115. So in that, is that co-requisite course going to be reimbursed as well?
Yeah, we'll take that offline and talk to MDOC about that. It's a good question.
Okay.
Okay.
So can I just ask one question? So when you're saying they're doing the prerequisite course, they do they do the prereq first and then, or they're doing it simultaneously?
They're doing it simultaneously.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so those are our FAQs. I am writing down more of these questions that we'll be able to clarify. Daniel, did you have a question?
I do, just because ours is at Monroe, we have a co-requisite, but it's listed as a separate course. It's like math 105, but with a co-requisite of math 090. Are you going to kind of take that into consideration that it's co-required? We have the same thing with our English. We have an English 151 with a co-requisite of English 090. So they're an extra class that goes along with that to get them up to the college level of whatever, because we get a lot of returning students especially with that frontliners thing that came out a couple of years ago. We had a lot of frontliners come back that were not prepared for college. So we had those paired up courses. And I just want to make sure, because
Yeah.
if it's like the other ladies where it was 100, it's no big deal, but ours is listed as a 090
Yep.
course.
Okay, yeah. We'll work with MDOC about if it counts toward the 15 credit hour requirement. We'll make sure that we can clarify that. And then also we'll make sure that we clarify how we're paying for that. I mean, the financial aspects of that as well. So there's two different parts of that. Does it meet the requirement? And does it also, are we going to be able to pay for that too? So thanks for those questions. Those are great. Okay, so these questions are great. You're asking them, and I bet lots of other people have these questions as well. This is a page that we want to continue to update and communicate with you on what the, kind of program requirements are here. So you'll have our email address at the end of the slide deck, and you can always contact us with any questions as well. And we'll be sure to update this page to continue to respond to those FAQs. Okay, before we go into action items for community colleges, I want to go back to just show you a little preview of what this experience will look like for students. The corrections officers will likely land on this page for the Michigan Corrections Officer Grant Program. They'll read the eligibility requirements and then the information that they'll need for the application. And then very easily will click on this button here that says apply now. That will take them out to another page. Again, it repeats the information that they're going to need to have before they submit the application. Well, okay. So we've been playing around with this a lot today. So normally a person would see an eligibility screening question here that says asks if they're employed by the MDOC and asks if they've completed the 15-hour education requirement. But because of getting ready for this session today, we're not able to see that right now. But essentially, this is what the application looks like. They'll very easily go in here and enter their contact information, their first and last name, their address, phone and email address. We'll ask for their social security number for tracking purposes. Then we'll come down here into the employment information section, and they'll provide us with their MDOC employee ID number. We'll ask them to select the MDO facility where they work. They'll enter their date of initial employment with the MDOC, which will give us a good idea of when their 24 months will expire, and they'll need to get these courses done. And then they'll tell us the total number of college credits that they've completed already. We go in here into the community college section, and they'll select the community college where they plan to enroll and the semester and year they're requesting enrollment. So they'll go in and do this every semester, and they'll just continue to select a new semester. And then finally, they'll do their employment verification. They have two different ways of doing that. They'll upload a signed employment and eligibility verification form, or they'll send a reference to their facility human resources office. Up here is where we describe to them that they'll be able to, the same page here, they will download this verification form. Can open that, which is just a Word document right now that asks the facility human resources office to fill this out. Or the easier way to do this would be to add to the application the email address of the facility human resources contact. And MDOC has provided us with the email addresses for all of those contacts at the facility human resources office or facility human resources offices. This is also probably very helpful to those of you who work at a college to be able to, if you have questions about, you know, specific students or requirements or something, this information is helpful for you as well. And then once they add that information in here, they'll submit their application. So it's very simple. We're not asking them for a lot of information, but we're asking them for enough information to be able to, you know, get started on that process of enrolling at the community college. If we go back to the website, there's a few boxes down here that are pretty important to you. The program policies is more of the student-facing policies that talk about eligibility, expenses, and course completion. Obviously, we just went through the information for community colleges administrators in a little bit more detail. We'll talk about this in a moment, but we have some marketing materials here that both community colleges and the MDOC can use and post around campus. So I'll just open a couple of these. It's really quite simple, but it is, you know, just notifying people that corrections officers may be eligible for free tuition assistance to meet the 15-hour education requirement at any of our 31 community colleges. And that QR code will send people out to the MCCA website where they can apply for the program. I wanted to show you that one because we have a bit of a similar flyer. We do have a similar flyer for community colleges that you can customize. So this is probably something you're going to forward to your marketing people, but you're able to drop your logo into there. You're able to insert your own community college name here, right? And then this white space down here in the bottom third of the page is available for you to, if you know, they need to apply for the program using our QR code, but you may want to add something in there about applying for admissions, for example, you know, enrolling in classes, like whatever message you want to customize down there at the bottom. Each community college has a way of doing that. And then, sorry, let me get back there. And then we also have social media toolkits for both MDOC and for the community colleges. If you wanted to include this on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media sites that you may want to communicate this with. It's just, you know, something that is quick and easy to put out there that you could pass along to your marketing folks. I showed you a little bit earlier, those correctional facility contacts. So all of those folks are there in case any of you need to get in touch with folks at the correctional facilities. And then when we go back to the slide deck, I'm going to ask you to provide me with similar information for community college contacts. This could be the students contacting you, but some place where we have a point of contact on here for folks to be able to reach out to community colleges when specific folks at community colleges when they have questions. This could also be, you know, we've got plenty of flexibility here. If you have a website for this, if you know, you can tell us what you need on there, and we can start to customize this page as well. All right, I'm going to check the chat again. Oh, good. Marketing tools are helpful. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, great. I think we're caught up on the chat. Let me know if that's wrong. Okay, so what do we need you to do? Oops. Okay, we need you to identify a contact or an office that students can contact if they have questions about enrollment and student services by completing this form. And Ashley will be dropping those forms into the chat here. Again, they're also on the MCCA website. So we want to have that point of contact where we can send students. Number two, we want to ask you to identify a contact with whom MCCA can communicate about the third-party authorization, holds, invoicing, and billing. There's another form, you'll just have to look carefully at what the title is, that asks you to provide us with that billing contact. And that's the person that we'll communicate with, that Kathy described, for all of the payment of this program. Please share the website with folks on your campus who want to know more about this. And then you can also download those marketing materials if you want to use those on your campus. Or obviously MDOC has some marketing materials on there as well, but please feel free to use those. But also, many of you are at institutions, have a very good marketing department. And if you have your own way of marketing this as well, and that's fine with us too. These were just resources that, in case you needed them, we wanted them to be able to share. I guess I should have said in these action items, if there are other FAQs, frequently asked questions that you have, please go ahead and send those to me. Our email addresses will be on here as well, but these are the items that we really would appreciate if colleges could give some attention to those right away. Okay. Next steps. We want to open the application tomorrow. So that's our plan. The alternative, I guess, would have been opening it on Friday the 13th. And that didn't seem like a very good idea to kick off this program. So we're going to open up that application tomorrow. We expect that there will be some challenges early on. But we are, open to fixing those and, making adjustments so this program works for everybody involved. And then on that January 13th is when that first set of third-party authorizations will go out to community colleges for approved officers. So that's kind of how we plan on kicking this off in the next couple of weeks as well. And then finally, here's our contact information. I'll also say that some of this will be, we also have an email address that's just corrections@mcca.org. We wanted to avoid people having multiple different people they're communicating with. So we're using that corrections email address. So you may also see information coming from that email address instead of just from Kathy, Abby, and I. Kathy, did you want to share anything about that? Oh, thanks. Abby put it in the chat.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. I see the Zoom recording. We'll try to get that up tomorrow so that you can share that with folks. We should be able to do the really quick recording that's only available for 30 days up there. And then we'll put it on YouTube and have a more permanent recording there as well. Tamara also said in the chat, there might be challenges getting students enrolled this semester since it starts on January 9th. Totally agree. And I'm glad you asked that because I want to talk about fall semester as well. So the governor signed the budget in July. And so technically this program, students could have been enrolled beginning in August, September when fall semester started and be eligible for the program. And we want to honor that commitment to students that those tuition and fees would be covered. However, students, of course, have already paid those tuition and fees for fall semester. And so if they've already done that and paid, we have another process that we're working through when a student applies to enroll in fall semester of 2022, which was, last semester, that will kick off a different process that those students go through where they provide us with their billing statement, they provide us with their unofficial transcripts, and then we plan to issue a check to those students who are enrolled in fall semester. So we've got a process in place to be able to do that for fall semester, but for this semester and moving forward, we will be working directly with the community colleges so students don't have to shoulder that burden for a whole semester before they can get reimbursed from us. I do agree, my hope and wish was that this program would have been launched several months ago. Unfortunately, it was a long process to work to be able to get the funding, to be able to get this application going on our end. So I appreciate your patience as we've worked through this. And to the extent that you're able to work with corrections officers to get them enrolled this semester, I know they would appreciate it. And please always reach out to us if you have any issues with that, and we can, help with any of those concerns. Any other questions before we sign off?
So I guess I have a question for the colleges. If people aren't already enrolled in this particular or in your college, will it even be feasible for them to start this semester if they're not already enrolled? Like we told somebody tomorrow, sign up, would it even be feasible?
Depends on how quickly we get all the verifications. There is a way that they can apply or ask for a late enrollment, at least at my college, and I'm sure there is ways at other colleges to ask for a late enrollment, as long as it's not longer than a week to 10 days. Once you get a week to 10 days into the semester, the student is far enough behind that it would be a disservice to them to have them try and make up. But the first week of a semester is usually introductions, making sure they have the book and stuff like that. So if we can possibly get the verification as quickly as possible, then we can work with them to maybe get that late enrollment. And then they're not missing anything. But if we get into that second week of the semester where they're going to start missing actual information from the class, then we might actually have some issues.
I'd also add that this is Nikki Smith from GRCC. I'd also add that I do believe that a lot of our colleges have late starting courses, 7-week courses. So they can definitely take advantage of those as well and still be enrolled in the winter semester. So definite ways around this and to even work in the midst of this. So I think, of course, communication will be paramount, but this is exciting and happy for it. Happy for it.
So do you think it would be beneficial for us to share with our officers, like those programs that have late starts?
Absolutely, because again, it's not just within the bounds of criminal justice. It's, these courses are open college wide. Right. And so the faster I would imagine that we can connect with you all and then also those officers that are enrolled in our institutions, regardless of the courses that they're taking, the better. And I'm just speaking from the person that will be the contact or one of two contacts at GRCC.
Okay. All right.
And
hey,
I think
the other, hi, Nikki. I think the other issue is probably going to be for them getting books. I know we talked about that a little bit, Erica and Kathy, and I don't know if that was discussed with the college because the books aren't covered. Yeah. So I don't know if some colleges have other programs that would be available to assist them with books or funding.
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say absolutely. And then we also, some programs are also utilizing open resource methods as well. So there may in fact be little to no cost for textbooks at some institutions for some of the courses.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also in the letter that students receive for when they're approved for the program, we clarify that and we encourage them to reach out to the college for any additional support they may need for books and supplies as well. Obviously, there are 31 different policies around that at institutions, but we encourage them to reach out to student services. And then when we reach out to them in the 3rd or 4th week of the semester for the billing statement, we also use that opportunity to remind them to take advantage of advising and counseling services, tutoring services, emergency assistance, and all of the other services that are available at the community college as well. We try to build in some of that into our, at least on our end, into our communication with them. All right, well, appreciate your time and attention to this. I think we'll sign off for today. You will hear from Kathy and Abby and I think regularly. Appreciate your attention to those action items we had. We'll be sending an email out to all of you with the link to the recording and the slides tomorrow as well. So thank you very much and have a great evening. Bye-bye.